So, Hendrik, thank you very much for making time to share your insights into the future of leadership. But before we walk into the future, can you please tell us a little bit about your background? Where did you grow up?
I grew up in the Free State, in a small town called Vicksburg in the Eastern Free State.
Right.
And I spent my almost the whole primary school career there. At the beginning of grade 7, those days it was still standard 5. But in the beginning of that year, my father was transferred to another Free State town where I finished high school.
And tell us, what was your dream career when you grew up?
I was, since I was in probably end of standard 4, I wanted to be a doctor. That was the dream. And throughout high school, nothing and nobody convinced me that it was not the right thing to do. And then after school, I studied medicine for 2 years.
Yeah.
And fortunately then I didn't get admission to the exam at the end of my second year for one of the subjects. And we went to the dean of the faculty to ask if we were few of us. And he asked us if we could, he said he will give us admission on condition that the career counselors at university advises him that it would be the right thing for him to allow us to continue with medicine. And then during one of those sessions, I did all the tests, and the counselor said to me, "Look, you have the ability and you can do anything you want to. There's no limit on what you want to do." And I told him why I want to do. I saw a movie about a neurosurgeon saving a young child's life, and that's sort of what triggered this whole doctor thing. And then he asked me, he said, "Do you want to work with sick children or healthy children?" And that sort of made me think twice. And then I realized, no, maybe medicine is not the right thing. My plan was to specialize in pediatrics when I was done anyway, because I wanted to work with children. And then I changed and I started studying medicine. But being a doctor was always the dream. I never dreamt of being a teacher.
Okay.
But now I'm where I am now in Drakensberg. Since I started teaching, this has been my dream job. So I'm living my dream at the moment, and I'm grateful for it.
And you're living your dream at one of South Africa's most renowned schools. So looking back at your early days, Hendrik, who inspired you?
I looked at that question for a very long time, and I honestly can't identify one person who inspired me. My parents, I grew up, I'm an only child, so I grew up with both my parents. The one thing I remember about them is that they always told me or showed me to do something. If you do something, you do it well.
Right.
Both very caring people, and I think that's where, I believe that's being kind is the most important thing we need to do. It doesn't matter where we are. So in that sense, they inspired me as I went on through my teaching career. Everywhere I came, there was somebody that I can think of who inspired me in some way, or taught me an important lesson that maybe later on I could see as inspiration going on. But I honestly can't say there was somebody who inspired me to achieve these great things. It's always been a drive to when you do something, you do it well. And it's that drive towards excellence that has always been there. And I can't say there's one specific person who inspired me to do it.
Right. Now, Hendrik, you mentioned one major turning point in your career, from a medical career to a teaching and education career. Further on, have there been any turning points in your career that where things could have gone different?
Well, I suppose there are many things that could have gone different many times. I left teaching for a while in it was the middle of 2001. I started a restaurant. I had a restaurant for about 18 months. And at the end of the second year, it was the restaurant at the hotel. I was running the restaurant, and the hotel owners called me and said they wanted to do the restaurant themselves. So I was welcome to work for them, but I couldn't continue as as running my own business.
Mhm.
And had that not happened, I would never have gone back into teaching. So I suppose that was a turning point. And then I got a post in Collesdorp in about 2008, I think. And again, that was I left Lady Grey at that stage. I was Lady Grey for a very long time, and I was very happy there. But I needed to move on. I needed to get some promotion, and this post in Collesdorp was that. And I spent 22 months there, and then the principal in Lady Grey at the Arts Academy asked me to come back. And again, if I had not gone to Collesdorp, I would not have been able to go back and act as principal, because it would have been 2 post levels above my current post, and that's not allowed in the educational department. So yeah, but, all these things happen, and when you look back at it, you realize it was in a way maybe a turning point, not a clear, distinct turning point, but it was something that had to happen so that you could move on to the next role. The same what happened after COVID. I decided to leave and to go to Kiro in Klerksdorp, and I was very happy in Lady Grey. There was a lot of work to be done after COVID to build the school up again, and I think it was a post-COVID thing of really being tired. We tend to think that we didn't work hard during COVID, but in a way we worked much harder, because you worked all the time at home. You were always. You didn't stop, and also the constant concern about what was happening. I think it made us work much harder than we realized. And I said to myself, I don't want to start over in the same place. So I went to Collesdorp, to Klerksdorp in the beginning of 2021. And had I not done that, I probably would not have ended here in Drakensberg. So a lot of things that happened that are small turning points guiding me towards where I am now, but not major life-changing events.
All right. And Hendrik, what would you say is driving you today? What is motivating you? What is energizing you?
The drive, and the strive for excellence in what I do. I think probably the fact that I quit medicine many years ago, in a way, has always driven me to excel in what I'm doing, because subconsciously I think one is always trying to prove that you didn't make a mistake. A lot of people told me I'm crazy when I changed from medicine to teaching, and in a way, doing everything in an excellent way is a way of showing that it was the right thing. But also being at Drakensberg, the reality in which we are, and the fight that we are in at the moment to make sure that the school grow and gets back to its rightful place, definitely drives me at the moment. That's one of the strongest driving forces. We never want to be the one who locks the door, and it will be a feel-good situation when I can be here, when we can see that we've turned things around, sort of.
All right. Now, Hendrik, looking into the future, and I know it's a big question, but what does the future of leadership mean to you?
I think leadership, our country, if I can just start there, our country needs leaders who are prepared to acknowledge and to respect people around them, and to be kind, and to be fair, and to and really strive towards the success of everybody, and not just themselves or a specific group of people.
Now, Hendrik, as a leader at one of the most important institutions in the country, you are developing future leaders. In your opinion, what is it we have to do more to develop and build future leaders for tomorrow?
That's also something that I've really thought about for a long time. I think we need to make sure that we provide an environment in which each young person in the country can develop their full potential and develop it in the direction that they are good at. I think we should stop trying to put young people in boxes and sort of expect from them to do X or Y or Z, and instead maybe give them the freedom to, not unlimited freedom, but freedom to develop into who they believe they can be. I think that's probably one of the things that we can do.
Now, Hendrik, as you mentioned, these are challenging times as the world is stumbling from one crisis into the next. In your opinion, what is your advice for future leaders? How should they, what challenges should they expect to encounter in their career and hopefully overcome?
I think the one thing that I've noticed, and I might be completely wrong, but I think a big challenge for us even now, and it looks like it's just getting worse, is entitlement amongst people. I sometimes, I look at the situations, and you listen to stories from the news, and you are dumbstruck by the amount of entitlement that people have. And as leaders in any sphere of life, I think dealing with that entitlement is one of the things that we need to be prepared for, because it's a difficult thing to manage, and I think they need to be prepared for that. I think they need to be prepared for tough times ahead. We can see it in the world. Things are not going the way we all want it, and it doesn't look as if it's changing. So I think what they need to be prepared for is to be able to function in difficult conditions, but to stay on course and to follow their beliefs and to work towards finding a way out of the chaos that they find themselves in.
Right. Now, Hendrik, as the world is changing faster and faster, what are maybe one or two key skills that you would recommend future leaders should learn and master?
Definitely prayer. I think that's a skill that we all need to develop. Also, kindness, the ability to distinguish between right and wrong, and probably the ability to pursue what is right, despite a lot of voices from the side trying to convince you that it's wrong.
Right. Now, Hendrik, as a mentor to many future leaders, can you maybe share a success story or two, and you don't have to name names, where you mentored an upcoming leader and that person took your advice to heart?
This is probably the hardest question of them all, because it takes my mind back to so many, and there were so many people that you sort of have lost contact with, and I don't know where they are. But as a teacher, I believe every young person that you deal with sort of is inspired and ends up somewhere, maybe because they followed advice a few years ago. Quite a few years ago, I had a student of mine that I taught in Lady Grey many years ago, and out of the blue, I received a message to say that and this guy was always a bit of he was working hard at school, and he was no criminal, but he was not the best behaved boy in the school at that stage, but there was something good in it, and I always tried to encourage him and to to push him in the right direction. And then many years later, he sent me a message out of the blue to just say thank you for always believing in him, thank you for seeing the good in him. He finished, he became an engineer. He's not the richest man on earth, but he has a family and he has a job, and he's content with what he has, and he managed to achieve that. And I think there are many stories like that, and I think that's the success. That's the success for me. That's many children that you think back of, and you think you gave a piece of advice somewhere, and they followed it, and they finished school, or they finished tertiary, or they made a success of what they're doing. And then also one or two young teachers. There's one specifically that started working. I appointed her in a position, and rough first few years, but just constant encouragement and showing people that you believe in them. And eventually she became a deputy principal in her own right, standing a good chance of becoming a principal, has senior leadership roles within sporting structures in a province. So I can't think of a specific person that I would say made a huge success because of me. I don't think, I don't think I want to see myself as that person that inspires people to greatness. But I think it happens without us knowing. It happens, and it's wonderful to know that there's a quote, a famous quote that I read, and I can't remember it exactly now, but it boils down to, when you teach, you should always give of your best, because you never know where the fruit might end. You will probably not know how successful your teaching actually was, and that's why you put everything into it, because there's always a chance of success somewhere.
Thank you. Now, Hendrik, looking back over your own leadership career, are there any role models of leadership who you have encountered and maybe worked with, who you would recommend future leaders should learn from?
Yeah, I think the many that I learned from, I mentioned it earlier on, or some of in every school where I taught, there was someone who would, teach me something. There was a principal in Karlsdorp who taught me that nothing should never be an issue. We tend to, something happen, and then we tend to we tend to turn it into a big thing, and we shouldn't. I had a good friend and a colleague in the Eastern Cape. He was a principal at a neighboring school, who also had the same, it's something is what it is, and we need to work through it and get to the other side. And unfortunately, probably most of the young leaders now will not be able to learn from those people. I have a strong admiration for, I saw that these, in that book that you left here, and with Brand Pretorius, I think Brand is a phenomenal human being, and his approach to leadership, his whole servant leadership, sort of gave me it gave a name to something that I've been doing, or felt like doing, my whole life, and didn't really maybe put a name to it, and I think servant leadership put the name to it. Our own President Nelson Mandela, I think, is somebody that we can always learn from. And I can carry on and mention quite a few, but again, there are these, I don't want to call them insignificant, but these insignificant people that you met through your life, and in every small bit that they inspiration. And it's wonderful, especially if the message repeats itself. If the third and the fourth and the fifth person tells you how important it is to lead, to serve the people that you lead, then it starts making sense, and it becomes reality.
Right.
If that makes sense.
It certainly does. Now, Hendrik, where can our listeners follow you, and how can they connect with you?
I'm one of those Facebook creatures who exist. I never engage a lot, but I'm there, and I'm there to be found on Instagram and Twitter as well. I'm an introvert. I keep things very privately to myself. But I first thing in the morning when I have my coffee is I play my Wordle game, and then I go into Facebook and see what's happening in the lives of friends. The wonderful thing about something, I know the young people of today will probably not even want to join Facebook because it's for old people, I believe. But I think it creates an opportunity for people in different parts of the world to stay in contact. I've built up quite a few relationships with people abroad. And through social media, we get a chance to just see what's happening. So I'm on Facebook, I'm on Instagram, and I think I'm easy to find.
Thank you. And obviously, the school has a large following on Facebook, and you're posting all the major events. I followed your tour. I followed the choir. So thank you.
I must say, since I'm here now, I'm a lot more active on Facebook because I try to share whatever the school posts and things. So yeah, there's definitely a great visibility there as well.
Great. Now, last but not least, Hendrik, what is your advice for the millions of learners out there who have just finished school, who are looking to start a career? What are maybe one or two success principles that they should keep in mind?
I think the most important is to keep, to hold on to hope. I think we're living in a world where hopelessness is sort of it's the thing that's happening. Hopelessness is going around. A lot of things that happen around us sort of is trying to convey this message of there's no hope. And there's always hope, and so the first thing for anybody who finishes school now is to just have hope, have confidence that there will be something good happening, because it will. And then to focus on, and I tell that to my students that as often as I can, you can only control what you do. And how you treat other people. You have no control over anything else. So make sure that you control that. Make sure that you do things right. The biggest thing these days is life. Things are unfair. And this is unfair, and things are unfair. And I read once that somebody said, life will never be fair. No, life will always be unfair. Just make sure that you are not. And that's sort of, take control of what you can. You have control over how you respond to people, how you treat people, and what you become, and just hold on to that and work towards hope, because we need young people who believe in hope and who can lead others towards the light and towards hope.
Thank you, Hendrik, for sharing your insights into the future of leadership. And for leading such an important institution. I believe they are called the singing ambassadors of the country, right?
They are indeed the singing ambassadors of the country, and they do it so well. I'm very proud of them.
Thank you, Hendrik.